Hi readers and writers, we're back again. This time I want you to get out your article of the week for this week. It's entitled, Don't Stop Your Child from Being Friendly. So if you don't have it in front of you right now, you're going to want to pause the YouTube video and go grab your article. So I'll pause a minute, I'll wait for a minute while you pause and come back. All right, here we go. So the reason that I wanted to spend a few minutes with you regarding this was because I'm asking you to do a couple of different things this week, and I wanted to show you what I meant so you wouldn't be confused. So the directions say, obviously, if you're watching this YouTube video, good for you, you followed the directions. But number 1 says, read and mark up the text by leaving tracks of your important thinking. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how I leave tracks of my thinking when I read. Then, next week in class, we're going to do more of this together. Number 2 says mark any confusions with 2 question marks. So I'm going to show you what that means. And then third, we're going to talk about your reflection. It says that in what ways can you connect with the text? Which possibility do you side with? Take a stand. You may also include any additional thoughts about the text. So we're going to talk about all 3 of those. So the first thing that I want you to know is when I leave tracks of my thinking, I am writing all over my text. Now, I haven't had a chance to look too closely at your articles of the week from last week, but when I scan through, I want to see a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more of the tracks that you're leaving as you walk through the text. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to read it to you and then show you what I do. It says, my 6-year-old son Liam is so friendly that it's a problem sometimes. Now I'm stopping and I'm thinking, I didn't realize being friendly was bad. So I did some thinking there. So I wrote that. I wrote it right here. I wrote, I didn't realize being friendly was bad. That shows that I'm thinking. The other thing you'll notice, excuse me, is that I underlined problem. And the reason I do that is I want to show you how I link my thoughts over here to the text right here. So that's why I underlined problem. Let's keep reading. It's a problem because once he has started talking, he doesn't stop. Okay, now I get what she's talking about. So I write that down. I underlined he doesn't stop, and I wrote, oh, now I get it. So in other words, it's not that she doesn't want her child to be friendly. She just, the problem she has is when he starts talking, he doesn't stop. So now I understand what she means. Well-meaning people have been stuck talking to him for much longer than they intended. They ask an innocuous question. Now right there, my red flags go up because I'm thinking innocuous. Now I know I can read that word. I know that it says innocuous, but I don't hear that word very often, and so I can't really think of, I can't remember what it means. So right above it, I put 2 little question marks to show that I was confused a little bit. And I hear my cats fighting behind me. So if they get too noisy, you'll just have to ignore them. Because they like to get attention, and this is how they get attention. All right, they ask an innocuous question like, how are you? Or answer his innocuous question like, what's that? And there we all are while Liam talks and talks. So I'm kind of chuckling here because I see how that might bother her now. So here somebody is being polite and asks her little Liam a question, and he just goes on and on and on and on. And so she's just like, oh, I wish, he's too friendly. And so then I do something else. I kind of laugh a little bit, but then I say, I think a little bit further about that, and I say, I get irritated when someone talks on and on too. Now, what I did right then is I made a connection. In other words, something in the text here made me think about something in my own life. And that was, hey, you know what? I react the same way when people talk on and on and on. I get a little frustrated too. So I coded that. See if you can see that right here. I coded that right here, whoops, with a T-S. And what that means is that's a text to self connection. In other words, the connection was between the text right here and my life. So I want to make sure to note that. So I put a T-S, text to self. Now, so when you're reading, I want you to mark your confusion with 2 little question marks. And I want to encourage you to see if you make any connections while you're reading. Maybe something that you're reading reminds you of something in your life. If that's the case, I want you to write down what it reminds you of, and then I want you to put a T-S so that I know when I look at your paper that you are making a text-to-self connection. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to you about with this is the reflection this week. It says, in what ways can you connect with the text? We talked about that. But then it said, which possibility do you side with? Take a stand. On the second page, the author goes on to talk about a priest that she knows and something that she heard him say, where he gives 2 possibilities and connects it to a Bible story. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to note which possibility you agree with. Kind of like in class today when I asked you to form an opinion about whether you thought struggle was good. Some of you thought it was good and some of you thought it was bad. In this case, I want you to say, I agree with this or I agree with this. Now, some of you might be like, well, I can kind of see it both ways, and that's called when we say someone is on the fence. That's okay too, as long as you can explain both. So when you take a stand, it's kind of like taking a side. So that's what I want you to keep in mind when you are reading your article of the week and doing your personal reflection. All right, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is this book right here. We spent a little bit of time talking about how writers get ideas from other writers. And I showed you how in chapter 1, I got an idea about something that I wanted to write about, and that was the fact that I was very emotional, and I got that out of chapter 1. Now I want you to take out your book if you don't have it. I'll pause for a minute and let you go get it. You might want to pause the video. All right, once you've had your book, I want you to open up to page 18, and I'm going to show you how something the author says makes me think about something that I could write about. The reason I'm showing you these examples is because this is what I want you to do when you read this book and when you read anything else. I want you to be thinking, does this give me any ideas for something that I want to write about? All right, we're on page 18. Do you see I put a little arrow there? So the author is talking about a student named Mary, and she has written in her journal, and she says, why was I born? Sometimes I think I'm going to be famous, or maybe I'll make a change in the world. I've got to be around for something. That got me thinking. This is a 4th grader who's contemplating the purpose or reason for her life. And it kind of got me thinking about how I think this is common for most people. I think people go through phases or times in their life when they kind of consider or think about, why am I here? Why was I put on earth? And so I kind of jotted down a few of my ideas. And I think people go in phases for life questions, teens, 20s, 40s, and 50s. I think teenagers tend to ask what their purpose is. They're not children anymore, but they're not adults. They're kind of in between, and they're just not sure what their place in life is. So I think that is a common time that people question their purpose. Another time people question their purpose is in their mid-40s or 50s. Some people like to call that midlife crises. And so this is something that this is an idea that I might want to pursue further in my writing. And there goes Millie. I think Leo's chasing her. I apologize for my kids. All right, one more example. I want you to flip to chapter 3, Writing Small, and turn, if you will, to page 27. Let's just take a look at what Millie and Leo are doing over here. Kitties, are you behaving or are you being naughty? Leo, be nice to her. All right, let's finish up. So when I read this, it really got me thinking about something. Mr. Fletcher says right here, I took a moment to record some of the small details that gave this day its special feeling. And so I started to think about the special days that I've had in my life. And one day in particular stuck out to me. It was about 2 years ago on my 40th birthday. My husband and I were in Italy, and on my actual birthday, we were in Venice. And I was riding a gondola down the canals of Venice, and I got so emotional. Remember how I told you I was so emotional? I got so emotional. I started crying, and I was like in this boat, and I kept saying, it's my birthday, and I'm 40, and I'm in Venice, Italy, and I'm on a gondola ride. Now, that only captures part of the moment. What I want to do in my writer's notebook is I want to go back. Oh dear, we better end this quickly. I want to go back and I want to write about the small details that made that day special. So, I hope when you are reading in your writer's notebook this week that you think about what Mr. Fletcher is saying and remember that you, a writer, can get ideas from other writers. Have a great day. Bye now. See you on Tuesday.